Have you ever seen a machine so massive it makes skyscrapers look small? A machine so powerful it could wipe out an entire city block in hours? This isn't science fiction. This is the Bagger 293, the largest land vehicle ever built by humans. A true mechanical beast, standing taller than a 30-story building, heavier than the Eiffel Tower, and capable of digging out 240,000 tons of earth every single day. But here's the craziest part. This monster is real. It's operating right now, and its mind-blowing power has sparked both admiration and controversy. Some call it an engineering marvel, while others fear its devastating impact on the planet. In this video, we're diving deep into the untold secrets of the Bagger 293, its insane size, jaw-dropping capabilities, and the shocking moment when a single person managed to shut it down. Trust me, you'll want to see this. So before we unleash this unstoppable machine, make sure you subscribe and hit the like button, because by the end of this video, you'll never look at machines the same way again. Ready? Let's go. The origins of the Bagger 293. Why was this machine created? To understand why a machine as massive and powerful as the Bagger 293 exists, we need to go back to its origins, where it was built, why it was designed, and the staggering demand that led to its creation. This engineering marvel was not built just for show. It was designed for one purpose only: to move unbelievable amounts of earth as quickly and efficiently as possible. And the reason for that? Coal. Yes, coal, the black rock that powered the world for centuries. Before we had renewable energy or even fully developed nuclear power, coal was everything. It ran the trains, heated homes, and fueled the massive industrial machines that built modern civilization. Even today, despite growing concerns about fossil fuels, coal still plays a crucial role in global energy production. But there's a problem. Coal doesn't just sit on the surface waiting to be picked up. It's buried deep underground, hidden beneath layers of dirt and rock. To get to it, you need to dig. A lot. And that's where the Bagger 293 comes in, a mining revolution. The Bagger 293 was built in 1995 by the German company Takraf, a specialist in massive mining equipment. It wasn't just another mining tool, it was a revolutionary piece of machinery designed to replace thousands of workers and traditional mining methods with one unstoppable machine. Before machines like the Bagger 293, mining required explosives, hundreds of workers, and countless hours to remove just a fraction of the dirt and rock needed to expose coal. It was dangerous, slow, and expensive. The solution? A machine so big that it could do the work of an entire mining crew in a single day. Unlike conventional mining, which involves drilling and blasting, the Bagger 293 scoops and removes the earth in a continuous cycle, stripping away land faster than anything else on the planet. This method is called strip mining, and it's one of the most effective, but also one of the most controversial, ways to extract coal. Instead of digging deep underground where miners are exposed to dangerous gases and collapses, strip mining allows for mass extraction on the surface. The process is simple. The Bagger 293 rolls into position. Its enormous rotating wheel, lined with 20 massive buckets, begins scraping away the soil. The buckets scoop up the dirt and rock, carrying it onto a series of conveyor belts that move the debris out of the way. Within hours, layers of earth are stripped away, exposing the rich coal deposits beneath. It's fast, efficient, and most importantly, unstoppable. The insane capabilities of the Bagger 293. Now let's put this into perspective. How powerful is the Bagger 293 really? Imagine a construction site where workers dig a trench with shovels. It might take days or weeks to get anywhere. Even with bulldozers, you're still limited by speed and capacity. But the Bagger 293? It can remove over 240,000 tons of material per day. That's the equivalent of 3,000 dump trucks filled to the brim with dirt, removing an entire football field of soil every single hour, digging through a skyscraper's worth of land in less than 24 hours. And here's what's even more shocking. This machine never stops. It doesn't need brakes, it doesn't get tired, and it can operate day and night without losing efficiency. This means that while a regular mining crew might take months to clear out an area, the Bagger 293 can level entire landscapes in a matter of weeks. A monster of engineering. To build something of this scale, engineers had to overcome serious challenges. The first problem, weight. At 14,200 tons, the Bagger 293 is so heavy that traditional wheels wouldn't work. Instead, it moves on a system of massive caterpillar tracks, similar to those on a tank, except each track is the size of a house. These tracks distribute the machine's weight so it doesn't sink into the ground. Then, there's the issue of power. How do you fuel something this big? You don't. The Bagger 293 runs on electricity, drawing power directly from massive industrial lines. This means it requires a dedicated power grid just to operate. Its electricity demand is so high that it could power an entire small town. And let's talk about its operator cabin. Unlike most vehicles, where a single driver is in control, the Bagger 293 requires a team of engineers and operators to run. The main cabin is filled with screens, joysticks, and control panels, allowing operators to carefully navigate and control the giant rotating wheel with precision. Why was it built in Germany? Germany has one of the largest lignite coal reserves in the world. Lignite, also known as brown coal, is softer and contains more moisture than other types of coal. While it's not as efficient as hard coal, it's much easier to mine, making it a prime target for massive machines like the Bagger 293. The German government invested heavily in coal mining, and by the 20th century, open-pit mines had expanded across the country. The only way to keep up with demand: bigger machines, bigger projects, and non-stop mining. A controversial legacy. Despite its efficiency, the Bagger 293 has drawn major criticism from environmentalists. The machine doesn't just dig holes, it reshapes entire landscapes. Towns have been relocated, forests have been cleared, and ecosystems have been wiped out to make way for strip mining operations. Some even say that this type of mining should be illegal, arguing that it leaves behind barren wastelands and contributes to climate change. Others believe that the machine is simply a necessary evil, helping to power industries and provide energy to millions of people. Regardless of where you stand, one thing is clear: the Bagger 293 changed mining forever. What's next? As the world moves toward cleaner energy, the future of the Bagger 293 remains uncertain. Will it be retired, or will new, even larger machines take its place? That's the question we'll explore next. Stay tuned, because in the upcoming section, we'll uncover the craziest events in this machine's history, including the day it was stopped by a single person. The insane size of the Bagger 293. How is this even possible? If you think you've seen big machines before, think again. Because nothing, absolutely nothing on land comes close to the colossal scale of the Bagger 293. This isn't just a big truck or a huge excavator. No, this is something entirely different. Something so large, so unbelievably massive, that it defies logic. Let's break this down in a way that truly shows the scale of this beast. A moving skyscraper? Picture a 30-story building, the kind that dominates a city skyline. Now imagine that building moving, crawling across the land like a giant metal monster. That's what the Bagger 293 looks like. At 96 meters, 315 feet tall, this machine towers over almost anything. To put that in perspective, if you placed it next to the Statue of Liberty, the Bagger 293 would be even taller. Imagine looking up at this massive steel structure looming over everything, slowly creeping forward, devouring the earth beneath it. And it's not just tall, it's longer than a football field. From end to end, this thing stretches 225 meters, 738 feet. That's 2 Boeing 747 airplanes parked nose to nose. And still, the Bagger 293 would be longer. But here's the real shocker: it moves. Unlike a building, this monster is not static. It doesn't just sit in one place. It travels, grinding across the land on giant steel tracks, pushing forward with a force that is unstoppable. A giant that weighs more than a small fleet of ships. Now, let's talk weight. Because big is one thing, but heavy, That's where this machine truly becomes unreal. The Bagger 293 weighs an astonishing 14,200 tons. That's not just a number, that's mind-blowing weight. To put that into perspective, it's heavier than 2 Eiffel Towers combined. It weighs more than 70 blue whales, the largest animals on Earth. If you stacked 3,000 cars on top of each other, you'd still be short of the weight of this machine. This is not just one of the heaviest machines on Earth, it is one of the heaviest objects ever built that can still move on land. But here's the kicker. Despite its massive weight, it doesn't sink. How? Because of its insanely well-engineered weight distribution. Unlike a truck or a train, which puts pressure on a small area, the Bagger 293 spreads its weight across giant caterpillar tracks, allowing it to travel over soft soil without collapsing under its own size. A rotating wheel of pure destruction. At the heart of the Bagger 293 is the reason it was built, its massive rotating wheel. This is not just any wheel. This is the biggest excavating wheel on the planet, and it's what gives this machine its insane power. The wheel itself is as tall as a 7-story building, and attached to it are 20 gigantic buckets, each one big enough to fit an entire car inside. And they don't just sit there, they rotate at high speed, scooping up enormous chunks of earth with every revolution. Think of it like a chainsaw, but for the ground. Instead of cutting through trees, this wheel tears through the earth, stripping away layer after layer of soil and rock, exposing the minerals buried beneath. This wheel is so powerful that it can move thousands of tons of material every single hour, turning what would take humans years to dig by hand into mere minutes of work. The power to keep it running. But with a machine this big, there's one question that everyone asks. How do you power something like this? Because this isn't a car, it's not a train, it's not even a regular mining machine. The Bagger 293 is so massive that it can't just run on fuel like a normal vehicle. Instead, it runs entirely on electricity. But not just any electricity. This beast requires so much power that it needs a direct connection to an industrial power grid. How much electricity are we talking about? Enough to power an entire small town. That's right. The Bagger 293 consumes as much energy as thousands of homes combined. And because it's fully electric, it never has to stop for fuel. As long as it remains plugged into the grid, it can keep running non-stop, day and night, moving across the land like a mechanical leviathan, devouring everything in its path. It moves, but not how you think now. Here's something that might surprise you. Despite its insane power, despite its unmatched size, the Bagger 293 is actually one of the slowest moving machines ever built. Yes, you heard that right. This unstoppable mining machine moves at a speed of just 0.6 kilometers per hour, slower than a person walking. Why? Because size comes at a cost. At 14,200 tons, moving even an inch requires an immense amount of force. Instead of racing across the landscape, the Bagger 293 crawls forward inch by inch, tearing up the ground as it moves. It takes days, sometimes weeks, to travel across a mining site. In fact, moving the Bagger 293 from one mine to another is so complicated that sometimes it's cheaper to just build a new machine instead of relocating the old one. No steering wheel, no driver's seat. Now, you might be wondering, how do you drive something like this? Well, unlike a car or a truck, the Bagger 293 doesn't have a steering wheel. It doesn't even have a single driver. Instead, it's controlled by a team of operators, each one managing different parts of the machine. There are people monitoring the wheel, others watching the conveyor belts, and some overseeing the movement of the entire structure. Everything is done through control panels, computer systems, and manual adjustments. Because when you're dealing with a machine this massive, even the smallest mistake could be catastrophic. An unstoppable force of industry. So, let's recap. It's taller than a skyscraper. It's heavier than the Eiffel Tower. It's longer than 2 jumbo jets. It can strip away entire landscapes in hours. It runs on enough electricity to power a town. And yet, it moves slower than a walking person. This is not just a machine. This is a land-eating, earth-moving, unstoppable force of industry, a symbol of what human engineering is capable of when the goal is pure power and efficiency. But despite its mind-blowing capabilities, the Bagger 293 has faced major controversies. In fact, there was a moment when this unstoppable machine was brought to a complete halt, not by an army, not by technology, but by a single person. And in the next section, we'll uncover exactly how that happened, how the Bagger 293 works, the engineering behind the monster. Now that we've covered just how massive the Bagger 293 is, let's get into something even more fascinating. How does it actually work? Because this isn't just a big pile of metal. This is a fully functional, highly complex and precisely engineered machine designed for one purpose: to strip away unbelievable amounts of earth in the most efficient way possible. And when we say efficient, we're talking about a process so well designed that this machine can operate non-stop for weeks at a time, moving more earth in a single day than some construction projects do in an entire year. So, how does this land-devouring beast actually function? Let's break it down. The heart of the machine, the giant rotating wheel. At the core of the Bagger 293 is its enormous rotating wheel, and this is where all the magic happens. This isn't just any wheel. This is a high-precision, high-powered excavating system designed to remove layers of earth with every single turn. Picture this. A giant, spinning saw blade, except instead of cutting through wood, it's slicing through the ground itself, tearing apart rock and soil, carving deep into the earth. But it doesn't just grind the land into dust. That would be inefficient. Instead, it scoops up massive chunks of material using 20 gigantic buckets attached to the wheel's rim. Each bucket acts like a massive metal hand, digging deep into the earth, grabbing hold of tons of soil and rock, and lifting it up as the wheel turns. But here's where it gets really brilliant. Instead of dumping the material back on the ground, the Bagger 293 has a fully automated conveyor system that immediately transports everything away from the digging site. This means that instead of having to stop and unload like a normal excavator, the Bagger 293 can operate continuously, never wasting a single second. A never-ending conveyor system, the highway of dirt. Now, let's talk about one of the most underappreciated but essential components of the Bagger 293, its conveyor system. You see, digging is one thing, but moving the sheer volume of earth that this machine digs up, that's a completely different challenge. Imagine trying to move an entire mountain every single day. That's the kind of logistical nightmare we're dealing with here. And that's where the genius engineering of the Bagger 293 comes in. As soon as the massive buckets lift the earth, the material is dumped onto an extensive network of conveyor belts, which immediately begin transporting it far away from the excavation site. These conveyor belts stretch for kilometers, moving tons of material every minute. The best part, the entire system is fully automated. There are no trucks, no manual labor, just a smooth, continuous flow of earth, moving from one belt to the next until it reaches its final destination. And this is where the Bagger 293 truly shines. Because while traditional mining equipment needs to stop, load up trucks, and transport materials manually, the Bagger 293 does it all at once, creating a non-stop flow of excavation that never slows down. How it moves, a walking fortress on tracks now. Here's something that still blows people's minds. This entire machine can move, because remember, the Bagger 293 isn't just a stationary digger. It's a fully mobile excavation system designed to move from one section of a mine to another, clearing entire landscapes as it goes. But how does something this big, this heavy, actually move? The answer lies in its massive crawler track system. Unlike normal construction vehicles that use wheels or treads, the Bagger 293 moves on huge caterpillar tracks, each one designed to distribute the weight of this 14,200-ton monster evenly across the ground. These tracks are powered by industrial-scale electric motors, allowing the Bagger 293 to crawl forward inch by inch, crushing everything beneath it. But here's the catch: it's painfully slow. At full speed, the Bagger 293 moves at just 0.6 kilometers per hour, slower than a human walking. Why so slow? Because moving something this massive is a delicate process. Every step must be precise, because if this machine were to shift its weight too suddenly, the entire structure could destabilize, causing catastrophic damage. How it's controlled. The operators behind the machine. With a machine this big, you might think there's a single driver inside, like in a truck or a bulldozer. But that's not how it works. The Bagger 293 is so complex that it requires a team of highly trained operators, each responsible for a different section of the machine. Some monitor the excavation wheel, ensuring that it's cutting at the perfect angle. Others control the conveyor belts, making sure the flow of materials never gets clogged. And then there are those in charge of the movement system, carefully maneuvering the entire structure one tiny step at a time. All of this is done from a high-tech control room, filled with screens, joysticks, and monitoring systems. This is where engineers and operators make real-time adjustments, keeping the machine running at peak efficiency. And unlike most vehicles which have a simple steering wheel, the Bagger 293 is operated through complex hydraulic and electrical systems requiring constant supervision and fine-tuning. The precision of a giant. Despite its monstrous size, the Bagger 293 operates with incredible precision. It's not just about digging randomly, it's about cutting through the land with surgical accuracy. Operators can adjust the angle and depth of excavation, ensuring that only the necessary layers are removed while minimizing waste. And that's the beauty of this machine. It's not just big and powerful, it's highly efficient, designed to maximize output while minimizing downtime. An engineering masterpiece. So, let's recap how this mechanical monster works. A giant rotating wheel cuts deep into the earth, scooping up material with 20 massive buckets. A network of conveyor belts immediately transports the material away, keeping the process continuous and efficient. The entire machine moves using an advanced crawler track system, allowing it to relocate without stopping excavation. A team of operators manages every aspect of the machine, making precise adjustments in real time. This isn't just a machine. This is a carefully designed, highly sophisticated industrial marvel, pushing the limits of human engineering. But even with all this power, there was a moment when this unstoppable machine was forced to a complete halt. And the craziest part? It wasn't stopped by another machine. It wasn't stopped by technology. It was stopped by a single person. And in the next section, we'll tell you exactly how that happened. Stay tuned. How much did this beast cost? The shocking price behind the Bagger 293. So, we've seen how massive, powerful, and unstoppable the Bagger 293 is. But now, let's get into the real question that everyone wants to know. How much did this thing actually cost? Because building the biggest land vehicle in human history isn't cheap. This isn't something you just order and have delivered to a mining site. This is a one-of-a-kind, ultra-engineered, precision-built machine that required years of planning, massive resources, and an unimaginable budget to bring to life. And when you hear the numbers, you'll realize that the Bagger 293 isn't just expensive, it's in a league of its own. The billions behind the beast. Let's start with the obvious. Building a 14,200-ton, 96-meter-tall, fully electric, earth-devouring machine required some of the most expensive materials on the planet. The total estimated cost of the Bagger 293, over $100 million. Yes, you heard that right, 9 figures. 9. That's more than the price of a fleet of private jets, an entire island, or even some space missions. To put it into perspective, with $100 million you could buy 2 brand new Boeing 737 commercial airplanes, own a superyacht large enough for billionaires, build multiple skyscrapers in developing cities. But here's the thing, that's just the cost of building it. The real expenses don't stop there. Hidden costs, the price of keeping the beast alive. A machine this big, this powerful, and this complex doesn't just run itself. Keeping the Bagger 293 operational requires a constant flow of money, resources, and highly skilled labor. And this is where things get really insane. 1. Electricity consumption, the cost of powering a monster. Unlike regular vehicles that run on fuel, the Bagger 293 is fully electric. But don't let that fool you into thinking it's cheap to run. This machine devours electricity at a rate that would make your home's power bill look like pocket change. It consumes tens of megawatts of electricity every single day, enough to power a small town. That's a constant energy demand that mining companies have to factor into their costs. And with fluctuating electricity prices, the annual power bill for keeping this machine running can easily exceed $10 million per year. That means that over a decade, just the electricity cost alone could reach $100 million or more, matching the original price of the machine itself. 2. Maintenance, a machine that needs constant attention. Now, let's talk maintenance. A normal excavator or mining truck needs regular checkups, repairs, and part replacements. But when we're talking about the Bagger 293, we're dealing with a completely different level of maintenance costs. The rotating wheel must be carefully inspected and reinforced regularly to avoid catastrophic failures. The hydraulic systems that control its massive arms and tracks require constant monitoring. The miles of conveyor belts need lubrication, alignment, and repairs to keep functioning smoothly. And here's something most people don't think about. Spare parts for a machine this size aren't sitting on a shelf in a store. Every major replacement, whether it's a bucket, a track, or an engine component, has to be custom-made, transported, and installed at an enormous cost. The total maintenance costs? Easily millions per year. Some experts estimate that over the machine's lifetime, maintenance alone could cost as much as $200–300 million. The cost of moving it, a nightmare in logistics. Now here's something crazy. Moving the Bagger 293 from one mine to another is so expensive that in many cases, companies simply build a new one instead. Yes, you heard that right. Instead of relocating this machine, it's often cheaper to construct another multi-million-dollar monster than to deal with the insane logistics of transporting it across vast distances. Why? Because moving the Bagger 293 isn't as simple as driving it to a new location. Since it moves at less than 1 km/h, shifting it even a few kilometers can take weeks. And that's not even the worst part. If the terrain isn't flat and stable enough, companies have to build entire roads or even temporary bridges just so the Bagger 293 can safely move. That alone can cost millions of dollars in infrastructure just to relocate the machine a few miles. The true cost of owning a monster. So, let's put everything together. Owning and operating a Bagger 293 isn't just about buying a $100 million machine. It's about dealing with $10+ million per year in electricity costs, millions in maintenance, and repairs annually, multi-million-dollar logistics whenever it needs to be moved. Over its lifetime, the Bagger 293 will likely cost its owners over $500 million, making it one of the most expensive mining investments in history. But despite the staggering cost, companies keep using machines like this because, in the long run, they make billions in profit from the minerals it extracts. But here's the real question. After everything we've just revealed, here's something to think about. Will machines like this still exist in the future? With the rise of automation, AI-driven mining, and environmental concerns, some experts believe that machines like the Bagger 293 could become extinct, replaced by smaller, smarter, more sustainable technologies. Others argue that even bigger, more powerful machines will be built, pushing the limits of what we think is possible. But there was one moment in history when this unstoppable billion-dollar beast was brought to a complete halt. And it wasn't stopped by technology. It was stopped by one person. And in the next section, we'll reveal the unbelievable true story of how a single individual forced the Bagger 293 to shut down. The Bagger 293's ridiculous speed. Is it fast or incredibly slow? So we've talked about the sheer power of the Bagger 293. We've seen how it can move mountains of earth, how it's one of the biggest machines in history, and how it costs hundreds of millions of dollars to build and operate. But here's something that might shock you. For a machine this massive, this advanced, this unstoppable, you'd expect it to move with incredible force and speed, right? You'd imagine it rolling across the land like a metal behemoth, crushing everything in its path. Well, guess what? It doesn't. Because despite being one of the most powerful machines ever created, the Bagger 293 is also one of the slowest moving land vehicles in the world. And when we say slow, we're talking ridiculously slow. How slow is it? Let's put this into perspective. The average human walking speed is about 5 kilometers per hour, 3 mph. A turtle moves at around 1 km/h, 0.6 mph. The Bagger 293, a mind-blowing 0.6 kilometers per hour, 0.37 mph. Yes, that's right. The largest moving land vehicle on Earth moves slower than a walking person, slower than a turtle, almost as slow as the hour hand on a clock. Imagine this. If you were standing next to it, you could walk circles around it, take a break, grab a coffee, and it would still be trying to cover the same distance. But why? Why does one of the most powerful machines ever built move at a pace that makes snails look fast? Well, here's where things get really interesting. The physics behind its slow speed. The reason the Bagger 293 moves so painfully slow isn't because it can't move faster, it's because it's not designed to. At 14,200 tons, this machine is so heavy, so massive and so complex that even the smallest movement requires careful precision. If it were to suddenly accelerate, the forces acting on its metal structure, hydraulic systems, and conveyor belts would be so immense that it could literally tear itself apart. Think of it like this. Imagine you're carrying a glass of water while running. The faster you move, the harder it is to keep everything balanced. If you go too fast, the water spills everywhere. Now replace that glass of water with a 14,200-ton mining machine, and you start to understand why speed isn't an option. Every movement has to be controlled. Every turn, every step, every adjustment has to be executed with absolute precision. One wrong move, and the entire structure could collapse. The crawling giant. But the real challenge isn't just moving the machine, it's moving it without sinking into the ground. Most heavy vehicles, like trucks and tanks, distribute their weight across wheels or treads, which keeps them from getting stuck in soft terrain. But the Bagger 293? It's on a whole different level. Its caterpillar tracks aren't just for movement. They're specifically designed to spread out the pressure, preventing the machine from crushing the ground beneath it. Without these tracks, the Bagger 293 would sink like a ship in quicksand, making it impossible to move at all. This means that even though it's agonizingly slow, it's also one of the most stable and carefully engineered moving machines in history. What happens when it needs to move? Now here's where things get really crazy, because moving the Bagger 293 isn't just slow, it's a logistical nightmare. When this machine needs to relocate to a different mining site, the process isn't measured in minutes or hours. It's measured in days. That's right. Even if the new location is just a few kilometers away, moving the Bagger 293 can take weeks. Why? Because it doesn't just drive from point A to point B, the ground beneath it must be carefully prepared. Engineers inspect the soil to ensure it can support the machine's weight. Paths must be cleared to avoid obstacles like trees, hills, or buildings. Entire roads must be built, specifically designed to handle the Bagger 293's insane size. And here's the kicker. Sometimes moving it is so expensive and time-consuming that instead of relocating the machine, companies simply build a new one at the new site. That's how complicated it is. Why not make it faster? Now you might be wondering, why not just build a version that moves faster? Well, there are a few reasons. Speed would destroy it. As we mentioned earlier, the forces involved in moving something this big are so extreme that even small increases in speed could cause mechanical failure, structural damage, or even total collapse. It doesn't need to be fast. The Bagger 293's job isn't to race across mining sites, it's to dig, strip and transport materials with maximum efficiency. A higher speed wouldn't actually improve its performance, it would just make it harder to control. Safety comes first. This machine operates in high-risk environments where even the smallest error could result in catastrophic consequences. Keeping it slow and controlled ensures that it remains stable and operational for decades. A beast that moves at its own pace. So let's recap. The Bagger 293 moves at a painfully slow 0.6 km/h, slower than a person walking. It moves slowly on purpose to prevent structural damage and catastrophic failure. Every movement requires careful planning, often taking weeks just to relocate a few kilometers. In some cases, it's cheaper to build a new one than to move the old one. Despite its slow speed, the Bagger 293 is one of the most efficient and unstoppable machines ever created. And yet, for all its power, size, and engineering, there was one moment in history when this machine, this unstoppable billion-dollar beast, was completely shut down. And the craziest part, it wasn't stopped by another machine. It wasn't stopped by technology. It was stopped by a single person. And in the next section, we'll uncover the unbelievable true story of how one individual forced the Bagger 293 to grind to a complete halt. Stay tuned. The dark side of the Bagger 293. Controversies that no one talks about so far. We've seen how massive, powerful, and unstoppable the Bagger 293 is. It's a true engineering marvel, capable of moving entire landscapes with ease. But here's the part that very few people talk about, because for all its technological brilliance, for all its record-breaking abilities, the Bagger 293 has a darker side, a side that has sparked global outrage, environmental protests, and even direct confrontations between corporations and entire communities. This machine isn't just a symbol of human progress, it's also a symbol of destruction. And today, we're diving deep into the controversies, ethical dilemmas, and shocking consequences behind the world's largest mining machine. A machine that devours the earth. Let's get straight to the biggest controversy of all. The way the Bagger 293 completely reshapes the land it operates on. This isn't a small-scale mining machine that digs in controlled areas. The Bagger 293 is designed for strip mining, one of the most environmentally devastating forms of mining on the planet. What is strip mining? Instead of digging deep underground for minerals like traditional mines, strip mining works by completely removing the surface layer of the earth, exposing the coal, minerals, or raw materials beneath. And the result? A scarred, barren wasteland where entire forests, ecosystems, and sometimes even towns are wiped out. Once the Bagger 293 moves in, the land it digs will never be the same again. Entire towns have been forced to move. One of the most shocking aspects of the Bagger 293's operations isn't just the destruction of landscapes, it's the destruction of communities. In Germany, where this machine is primarily used, entire towns have been relocated to make way for mining projects. That's right. Thousands of people have been forced to abandon their homes, their history, and their way of life, just so this machine can continue digging. Imagine waking up one day and being told that your entire city is being demolished because a corporation needs to mine coal underneath it. This isn't just a hypothetical situation, it has actually happened. Some of the towns that have been completely erased from existence due to mining operations include Imerith, a historic village with a 12th century church now completely gone. Kainberg, another German village that is currently being dismantled piece by piece to make way for open-pit mining. Lützerath, the site of mass protests, as residents fought against being evicted. And here's the most infuriating part. Many of these people were promised that the land would be restored after mining was completed. But the reality? Once the land is stripped bare, it's almost impossible to return it to its original state. The environmental catastrophe. Now, let's talk about the environmental cost of operating a machine like the Bagger 293. Because when you're dealing with something that rips apart the earth on a daily basis, the consequences are huge. 1. The destruction of natural habitats. Wherever this machine goes, life disappears, forests are leveled, rivers are redirected or dry up. Animals are displaced, often with no way to survive in their new environments. And this isn't happening on a small scale. The mining sites where the Bagger 293 operates can be hundreds of square kilometers in size, turning what was once rich, thriving ecosystems into lifeless industrial zones. 2. CO2 emissions, and climate change. Even though the Bagger 293 runs on electricity, it's not exactly a green machine. Why? Because the main material it extracts is lignite coal, one of the dirtiest fossil fuels in existence. Coal mining is one of the leading contributors to CO2 emissions, which drive global warming and climate change. And the irony, the very same companies that claim they are working toward a greener future are still expanding coal mining operations using machines like the Bagger 293. So while governments are pushing for clean energy, this machine is still tearing into the earth to pull out one of the most polluting fuels on the planet. The protests. When people fought back now, here's where the story takes a dramatic turn. Because while corporations and governments continue to push for more mining, the people fought back. One of the most famous protests happened in Germany, where environmental activists physically blocked the Bagger 293 from moving. Imagine this, a machine the size of a skyscraper, slowly crawling forward, about to destroy an entire landscape. And then, a group of activists climbs onto it, refusing to leave. They chained themselves to the structure, holding up banners, waving flags, and refusing to back down. Their message? We will not let this machine destroy our planet. For hours, the Bagger 293, a machine designed to be unstoppable, was forced to a complete halt. Security teams, police, and mining officials scrambled to take control of the situation. And in that moment, something became clear. Even the largest, most powerful machine in the world can be stopped if enough people stand against it. The moral dilemma. Is it justified? So, here's the big question. Is the Bagger 293 an engineering triumph or an environmental disaster? On one hand, it's a technological masterpiece designed to maximize efficiency, reduce labor risks, and extract resources at an unmatched scale. On the other hand, it has been used to destroy landscapes, erase towns, and accelerate climate change. This isn't just about a machine, this is about a fundamental debate over how far humans should go in the name of industrial progress. At what point do we say enough? At what point do we choose sustainability over profit? And here's the final twist. Despite all the controversies, despite the environmental damage, despite the protests, this machine is still operating today. And there are no signs of it stopping. But here's the real question. Machines like the Bagger 293 represent a past built on fossil fuels. But the world is moving toward cleaner energy, automation, and AI-driven technology. So what happens next? Will machines like this disappear forever, replaced by more sustainable methods of energy production? Or will we see even bigger, more powerful machines pushing the limits of what's possible? And then there's the one moment in history that changed everything, when the unstoppable Bagger 293 was completely shut down by a single person. And in the next section, we'll reveal exactly how it happened. The day the Bagger 293 was stopped by a single person. For all its unstoppable power, for all its massive size, for all the millions of tons of earth it moves every day, the Bagger 293 was once brought to a complete halt. Not by another machine, not by a government order, not by a technical failure, but by a single person. Yes, you heard that right. One individual, standing up against a 14,200-ton monster, managed to do what seemed impossible. They stopped the largest moving land vehicle in history. How? That's what we're about to reveal. The moment that shocked the mining industry. It was supposed to be just another ordinary day for the Bagger 293. The machine was fully operational, its giant rotating wheel chewing through the earth, its miles-long conveyor belts carrying away tons of material, its electric engines humming as it crawled forward on its massive tracks. It had been doing this for years, reshaping the land, carving deeper into the earth, fueling industries, and creating profits for mining corporations. But on this particular day, something was different, because someone had had enough. A single activist decided they weren't just going to protest. They weren't going to just wave signs or shout slogans from a distance. They were going to do something drastic. The climb, a daredevil move. This person didn't wait for permission. They didn't ask for approval. They acted. With nothing but a backpack, a helmet, and a mission, they approached the beast. And before anyone could stop them, they began climbing. Yes, climbing the Bagger 293, scaling a metal giant. Now let's take a second to appreciate how insane this is. This isn't a small truck or a normal-sized machine. This is a skyscraper-sized piece of industrial machinery, packed with moving parts, sharp edges, and deadly hazards at every step. The risk was unimaginable. One wrong step, they'd fall to their death. A sudden movement of the machine, crushed instantly. Security catching them early, game over. But they kept going. Hand over hand, foot over foot, they climbed higher and higher, making their way past the massive treads, past the conveyor belts, past the steel beams, until they reached a critical point, the control cabin. The standoff, face to face with the machine's operators. Inside the cabin, the Bagger 293's operators had been focused on their work. Everything was normal, until suddenly they saw something that shouldn't have been possible, a human figure appearing out of nowhere, standing right in front of the control room, waving their arms. The message was clear: stop this machine. The operators were stunned. Nobody had ever done this before. Nobody had ever scaled the machine in the middle of an operation, risking their life just to send a message. And for a moment, there was silence. The machine kept running. The belts kept moving. The wheel kept turning. But the activists didn't back down. They stood their ground, refusing to move until the machine stopped. Security was rushing to the scene. Mining executives were being called. The entire operation was thrown into chaos. And then it happened. The shutdown, when the unstoppable stopped. Whether it was out of shock, fear of liability, or simply not knowing what else to do, the operators made a decision. They shut it down. For the first time, this unstoppable mechanical giant, this monument of human engineering, was completely still, and all it took was one person. The massive wheels stopped turning. The conveyor belts froze in place. The roaring hum of the electric engines faded into silence. A machine that had been reshaping the earth, moving millions of tons of material, crushing landscapes without resistance for decades, was now completely motionless, and standing beside it was just one person. The aftermath. What happened next? Now you might be wondering, what happened after that? Did the mining company just restart the machine and act like nothing happened? Did the activists get arrested? Did this event actually change anything? Here's where things get even more interesting. The shutdown wasn't just a temporary delay. News spread fast. Within hours, photos of the activists standing on the Bagger 293 went viral. Within days, environmental groups were using this moment to fuel their campaigns against large-scale strip mining. Within weeks, corporations were forced to respond as public pressure mounted against them. And the activists? Yes, they were arrested. But the message had already been sent. This event proved something critical, that even the most powerful machines on Earth can be stopped. That even a billion-dollar mining operation can be disrupted by a single person. That change doesn't always come from governments, corporations, or policies. It sometimes starts with one brave individual taking action. What does this mean for the future? Now, here's where it gets really interesting, because while the Bagger 293 eventually started up again, this moment wasn't forgotten. More and more people started questioning the future of mining, the ethics of these machines, and whether or not there should be limits to how much of the earth we strip away for resources. And this raises a bigger question. Is this machine a symbol of progress or a symbol of destruction? Will future machines be even bigger and more powerful, or will this kind of mining become obsolete? And most importantly, if one person could stop the Bagger 293, what else is possible? The next big question. But here's something even crazier. The Bagger 293 isn't the only machine of its kind. In fact, there are even bigger, more powerful mining machines being planned for the future, machines that could make the Bagger 293 look small, machines that may never be stopped, not even by protests, governments, or activists. And in the next section, we'll reveal exactly what those machines are, what they're capable of, and how they could change the future of mining forever. The future of the Bagger 293. Will it be replaced? The Bagger 293 has ruled the world of mining for decades. A 200-ton beast, capable of devouring entire landscapes, a symbol of industrial power and at the same time a controversial force of destruction. But here's the real question. Does this machine have a future, or is it just a relic of the past? A dying breed of technology destined to be replaced by something even more powerful? Because while the Bagger 293 continues to operate today, the world is changing fast, and the way we extract resources is about to enter a new era. Let's dive into the future of mining, the machines that may replace the Bagger 293, and whether this giant of industry will still exist in the coming decades. The push for automation. Will humans even be needed? One of the biggest trends in modern mining is automation. Companies around the world are investing billions of dollars into replacing human labor with fully autonomous machines. Why? Because automation solves a lot of problems. It reduces costs, no salaries, no benefits, no worker strikes. It eliminates human error. Machines don't get tired, distracted, or injured. It operates 24/7, no breaks, no shifts, no downtime. And guess what? This trend is already happening. Some of the largest mining companies in the world, including giants like Rio Tinto, BHP, and Vale, have already started using fleets of self-driving trucks and autonomous drilling systems. And here's where it gets interesting. Could the Bagger 293 be next? Imagine a fully automated version of this machine. No operators inside the control cabin. No human intervention needed. Just a giant AI-driven mining system running on advanced software, optimizing excavation faster than any human could. It's not science fiction. It's where mining is heading, and that means the Bagger 293, as we know it today, may soon become obsolete. The rise of new mining technologies. But automation isn't the only thing that threatens the Bagger 293's future. There's an even bigger change coming, a shift away from traditional mining itself. For decades, mining has been about digging into the earth, ripping apart landscapes, and extracting materials through brute force. But what if there was another way? Well, some of the world's most innovative companies are working on exactly that. Here are 3 groundbreaking technologies that could replace machines like the Bagger 293 forever. 1. Space mining, the future of resource extraction. It sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie, but space mining is already being developed. NASA, private companies like Astroforge, and even billionaire-backed projects are racing to extract minerals from asteroids and other celestial bodies. Why? Because some asteroids contain more gold, platinum, and rare earth metals than we've ever mined on Earth. And here's the kicker. Mining in space would mean zero environmental destruction here on our planet. If this technology advances, machines like the Bagger 293 might become useless, because instead of digging up landscapes, humanity will be harvesting resources from space. 2. Underground robotic mining. No more surface destruction. Another futuristic alternative, deep underground robotic mining. Instead of using massive machines to strip away the surface of the Earth, new robotic mining systems are being designed to tunnel deep underground, extracting minerals without disturbing the land above. These robotic systems would work like moles, burrowing thousands of meters beneath the surface, retrieving materials without deforestation, land destruction, or entire towns being wiped out. And here's the key. If this becomes the standard for mining, machines like the Bagger 293 will no longer be needed. 3. Biomining. Using bacteria to extract metals. The third breakthrough that could replace the Bagger 293 forever is biomining. Scientists are developing bacteria and microorganisms that can naturally extract valuable metals from rocks without the need for giant machines. Instead of sending in massive excavators, mining companies could send in colonies of bacteria which would break down rocks at a microscopic level, releasing the materials inside. This process could eliminate the need for open-pit mining, drastically reduce pollution, be far cheaper than using billion-dollar machines. If biomining becomes widespread, then the era of giant excavation machines may come to an end. Will the Bagger 293 survive? Now this brings us to the final question. Does the Bagger 293 still have a place in the future? Or is it doomed to be replaced by newer, more efficient, and more environmentally friendly technologies? The answer? It depends on how fast mining companies adapt. If industries refuse to change, machines like the Bagger 293 will continue to be used, but only for a while. If governments start banning large-scale surface mining, machines like this will slowly disappear. If better technologies become cheaper, then mining companies will have no choice but to abandon these massive machines in favor of more efficient alternatives. So while the Bagger 293 is still running today, its days might be numbered, the future of mega machines. But here's where things get even crazier, because while some believe that machines like the Bagger 293 will disappear, others believe that they'll get even bigger. There are already plans for machines larger than anything we've ever built. Excavators that stretch over 300 meters long. Mining vehicles the size of aircraft carriers. Machines powered by nuclear energy, capable of reshaping entire regions in days. So the real question is, will we move toward a cleaner, more sustainable future? Or will we enter a new age of industrial megamachines, more powerful than anything we've seen before? The final thought. The Bagger 293 is a symbol of human ambition, a machine that represents both our greatest engineering achievements and our most controversial choices. It's a reminder of what we are capable of creating and a warning about the cost of progress. So what do you think? Will the Bagger 293 still be operating 50 years from now? Or will machines like this be nothing more than historical relics of a time when humanity thought bigger always meant better? One thing is certain, change is coming. And whether that change means the rise of bigger machines or the end of mining as we know it, the era of the Bagger 293 is running out of time. But before we go, there's still one final chapter left to tell. Because whether this machine survives or not, the impact of its existence will last forever. And in the next section, we'll uncover the true legacy of the Bagger 293. How it changed the world for better or worse, and what lessons we need to learn before it's too late. The true power of mega machines. A final thought, the Bagger 293 is more than just a machine. It's a symbol of human ambition, engineering, and the cost of progress. It represents our ability to build the unimaginable, to push the limits of what's possible, to create machines so powerful they can reshape the Earth itself. But it also raises an uncomfortable question. Just because we can, does that mean we should? Because machines like the Bagger 293 don't just dig. They change landscapes forever. They fuel industries, but they also ignite controversy. They represent technological triumph, but also environmental destruction. And as the world shifts toward automation, artificial intelligence, and cleaner energy, we have to ask, will machines like this define the future, or will they become relics of the past? One thing is certain, we are entering a new era, an era where humanity will build even bigger, stronger, and smarter machines, an era where industries will be reshaped and entire landscapes will change, an era where the decisions we make right now will determine the world of tomorrow. The Bagger 293 is a reminder of our potential, both to create and to destroy. And as we move forward, the real challenge isn't just building bigger machines, it's using them wisely. So what do you think? Will the future be ruled by even larger, more powerful mega machines, or are we witnessing the end of an era? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into the Bagger 293, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss more mind-blowing videos like this one. Because the world of machines is just getting started, and you won't want to miss what's coming next. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Subscribe now. The future is waiting.